Today on the Midweek Move, we're going to talk about the Church of Corinth and missed appointments.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to the Midweek Move podcast, essentially the place, the podcast where we examine the scriptures in context and ask ourselves what is happening here. Today's, ladies and gentlemen, joining me is Carlos. How you doing, man?
I'm good, brother.
I'm glad you're here. I want to remind you that there's an audio-only version, so it just had this awkward silence just now.
Yeah, dude. For you guys that are listening to the audio-only version, this is your opportunity to go over to the Midweek Move YouTube channel so that you can actually watch the video and see what's happening here.
Oh, that's funny. Hey, guys, just real quick before we get into today's conversation, I want to let you guys know something special is going to happen over the next few weeks. Here at the church, we do a film school for our teenagers, and we're actually planning, we're hopefully we'll have it set up where for the next few weeks, we'll actually have teenagers doing the Midweek Move. And so they'll be sitting in these chairs, and it's going to be me and one of them, and we're going to flip it up on them.
Yeah.
Normally, it's I give them a small little passage, and I give them like, hey, here's the question I'm going to ask you. Study out the question. This time, I'm going to go, hey, student A, you're in charge of Acts chapter 19. Come up with 3 questions to ask me.
That's so cool.
And so they're going to have to study it and ask me those questions.
Challenge.
So we're going to see how this works out with them. But I'm always excited about working with our students, not just to – this is one of the aspects about the Healing Place that we're big about is we're teaching our people how to do things, not just to do things, but to help them grow spiritually.
Yeah.
And you never know where that takes them, the skill set that they'll give them later. And so and I'm saying that on purpose because it plays into the conversation today.
Yeah.
Because we see an investment in people and we don't figure out what comes out until later. And it's fascinating. If you have your Bible, open the book of chapter 18 of the book of Acts. Last time we talked about Paul has been on the run, left and right.
Yeah, he's literally a man on the run.
The people in Thessalonica
they're
are
following him.
Yeah, they're following him. And so here in chapter 18, Paul, he's in Athens, but then he travels to Corinth.
Yes.
Plot twist, this is the same Corinth that we have the book of Corinthians.
2 of them.
2 books of Corinthians, and so he meets a couple there named Aquila and Priscilla, and they were tent makers. And this is where we find out that Paul had a trade. His job wasn't just being a preacher, but he was a tent maker.
He had a skill. There wasn't a whole lot of vocational ministry in those days.
Right, exactly. And so he worked as a tent maker, and he partnered up with them. Now, before somebody goes, this shows that pastors didn't get paid, Paul also advocated saying that, it's good for you to take care of your pastors and those leading churches.
It's in there.
Yeah. And so, but, he said, be fair about it.
Yeah.
So, but he's there. And while he's there, he's preaching in the synagogue, trying to convince people about Christ. And after a lot of discussion, seeing roadblocks everywhere, he stops and he says this in the verse 6. Your blood be on your heads. I am innocent. For now I will go to the Gentiles. He's just done with in the synagogue.
You think that he's kind of gotten to the point after all of this, everywhere he goes, the religious Jews seem to stir up trouble. Mm-hmm. They chased him. They chased him all the way from Thessalonica to Berea.
Right.
And
now he's in Corinth.
Yeah, now he's in Corinth. He's gone to Athens. Now he's in Corinth.
Right.
And everywhere he goes, he just seems to have the problem. These people, they just don't want to listen.
Exactly.
And I don't blame him for being a bit fed up.
I know, right? So that being said, right afterwards, a leader of the synagogue gets saved, and out of that, a lot of Corinthians get saved. Then God encourages them not to leave Corinth, but to stay and continue to minister. And so he's in there. So again, he's like, I'm done with all these guys. And the Lord says, no, you're still going to minister to them, but I'm opening doors for you to continue to minister to Gentiles, who he called him to minister to in the first place.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is the way the scripture reads out is that God says specifically, you're staying there because I have a plan for several people through you in this situation, through what you're going to be doing here. And so God encourages him, stays there. He stays there for 1.5 years. Now, again, he's fed up with some of these people here, but the Lord's like,
another 1.5 years of people you're tired
of. So at this time, he is once again seized, beaten, and ran out of town again. And he leaves for Ephesus, who we would later know gets a book called Ephesians.
Yes.
where he meets up with a couple named Aquila and Priscilla, or he leaves with Aquila and Priscilla to go there. And then later he leaves Ephesus on his own. He heads out of there. He leaves Aquila and Priscilla here. And this is where things get really fascinating. Shortly afterwards, a man named Apollos comes to Ephesus. Yes. And Apollos is this guy who the Bible describes as being well-spoken.
Mm-hmm. He's eloquent.
He's eloquent. He's educated. He has a decent grasp of the gospel. He understands a lot about Christianity. And he finds himself in situations where he's actually arguing with the local Jewish people about Jesus. Yeah. And this is where things get fascinating. He's passionate, but Aquila and Priscilla, who they've been traveling with Paul. They met with Paul when he first came to Corinth. Yep. They hung out with him that whole year and a half that he was arguing with the local people, doing ministry, seeing people get saved. They spent time with him privately at home while they're building tents, doing stuff like that. They have done life with this apostle.
Yeah, this is a real discipleship.
Right. And then they see this man Apollos, and Apollos is doing his thing, and they're going, man, he's great, but he's missing something.
Yeah.
He doesn't understand the fine points of Christianity, really. Like, he has some basic working knowledge, but he's missing some stuff. And what they do is not call Paul up. They don't send another, hey, Paul, there's this dude, you need to come back here. They go, well, let's disciple him.
Yeah.
Let's step into his dude's life, just like Paul did ours, and let's minister to Apollos. Yeah. Let's help him become who God created him to be.
Yeah.
Which leads me to my question for you for today. And this feels very quick. For some, in Paul's situation, they may feel like they are spinning their wheels. Paul has been kicked out of town after town. He's running. He's fed up with people. Lord says, you can't leave. You're stuck here. And he's being obedient to the Lord. But it can feel like you're just spinning your wheels because you're not seeing what you feel like you need to see.
Yeah.
What Paul didn't see, however, was the fruit of his ministry. Because of his travels with Aquila and Priscilla, Paul is later properly discipled. Not because Paul did it,
right,
but because Aquila and Priscilla saw the man who did it. And they were only able to do that because of the time with Paul.
Yeah.
This is what we call discipleship.
It is.
And we've said this before. You know, who's the guy that discipled Billy Graham? You know, who's the guy who discipled name XYZ, fantastic preacher, minister, doing both type stuff? Most time we don't know.
Right.
So here's one question for you. Who's someone that poured into you, Carlos? Like, let's put them on blast. Mm-hmm. Who's the person that would like, this person really discipled me in this situation here? And then I'll have a second question on the back end.
Well, I know this is kind of an easy answer, that people would give. They would talk about their pastor, but really when it comes to like the Apollos thing, I can really, really relate to that. Because when I came to the healing place, I'd been saved for about 13, 14 years, and I'd already been in church, had been part of other ministry, had already been trained and discipled, and I'd already preached, and I'd done a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I came to the healing place, and I developed a pastor disciple type relationship with my pastor, with Pastor Scott here. And there were so many more things that I had yet to learn. My wife and I as well. Yeah. We had so many more things that we needed to really learn. And it wasn't just, opening up a book or him standing from a podium and speaking words at me. It was life. We've been all over the country. We've been all over the planet together. And just that proximity to someone teaching me a better way, a more excellent way, a more complete way of looking at the gospel, looking at ministry, and looking at life with Christ in general. I can relate to that. I kind of know what Apollos felt. Somebody that knew the things of God and had been trained up until a certain point.
Yeah.
And then someone coming in and really beginning to fill in the gaps and really beginning to fill in the point to where there's greater purpose and there's greater understanding of what God is really doing.
Yeah.
And that more close and personal discipleship and guidance. And that happened when I got here from the healing place with Pastor Scott.
Yeah. That's so good. And again, it's just one of those, when those connections happen, and somebody invests in your life, it's life changing.
It is,
You know,
and it should be.
yeah. For me, it was a combination of Pastor Matt and Pastor Scott. For me, both. I just told the story the other day to somebody. I was 16 years old. Went to youth camp for the first time. I am angry. I'm just mad kid.
Yeah.
I was a decent kid. I wasn't like, doing drugs and stabbing people, but I was just angry because my family was going through divorce and we were going through all kinds of stuff. And Matt took the time to sit down with me. We're on I will never forget, we were on the steps of the dorm we were staying at, because it was at a college campus in Texas. And he's just talking me through stuff with me. And I'm just angry. And that was the first start of him investing in my life. It wasn't a matter of, like you said, open a book and preaching at me.
Right.
It was sitting down with me, being real, sharing his own stuff, doing his own things, like what Scott's done with you. And then, of course, also Pastor Scott has been there part of that for my process, also investing in me, pouring into me. Having these people just genuinely care about me. Again, they don't care about, how do I say this? Some people think discipleship is, I care about you because you tithe or you're a butt in the seat.
Right.
And they think discipleship is, well, I preached on Sunday and you were there. Got you covered.
Right.
No, it's the spending time with you. And it's a long road situation. And that whole thing, it's lasting, And what happens is over time, though, you begin to pour out what's been poured into you.
Yeah.
The number of times I've quoted Matt or Scott to other people over the years, and it's interesting because, and this leads into my next question, is how do we determine who we're investing into? And I think that I don't think that's sometimes the Lord speaks to us. This is who you will speak to.
Right.
But I think sometimes it's just the natural habit of, as you walk with Christ.
Yeah, as you go about doing what you normally do.
If you could share, because I feel like I know this, but because you showed this with me before, the turning point of your relationship with Pastor, where it became a brotherhood, but discipleship aspect, was a very particular hard event in your life that involved a trip to Dubai.
Yeah.
If you could share what that was and why that was impactful for you.
Yeah. When I say that we've been to the other side of the world and back, that is not a metaphorical sense. He's literally been to the other side of the planet with me. It was a while ago. I had a older sister, and she was doing a remote teaching job in Dubai in United Arab Emirates. She had a medical emergency there, and she was divorced at the time. Single mother. Her son was still in the United States. He was a minor. And so before she left, she assigned me as her power of attorney. And so that if anything happened that I'd have her back. And sure enough, she had a medical emergency there in UAE, in a country that doesn't necessarily have laws like we do.
Right.
The laws are very different. And I had to figure out how to get from here to Louisiana to the Middle East to figure out how to deal with my sister's medical issue and really try to find a way to get her back. And just kind of on a passing note, as I was speaking with Pastor Scott, I remember coming in, I got the call that what went down on a Saturday, and Saturday my time. And Sunday morning, we were at church and we were trying to figure it out. We're talking with the administrator of the expat school that she was teaching at, and we're trying to make sure passports and all that stuff. They're like, we need you to come over here. This isn't something that you can just do from over there. You need to get over here, and we need to figure this out. She's incapacitated. She can't make decisions for herself. You're the person on the sheets of paper, and you need to get over here. And I remember Sunday morning talking with Matt and then talking with our pastor, and he was like, and I don't know why he said, he's like, just ask him if you can bring somebody with you.
Right.
And so I'm speaking with the owner of the school, and I was like, I'm getting stuff together, make sure my passport's squared away. Can I bring somebody with me? Can I bring my pastor with me? He's a man that has international travel experience, been to the Middle East several times, and I would feel a lot better if he were with me.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, great. We'll send him a ticket too. Sweet. I mean, just kind of on a whim that I had no idea that these people would pay for myself and pay for my pastor to fly all the way over to the Middle East and all the way over to UAE in order to deal with my sister's situation. And God bless Sister Tanya. And he had just gotten back from Israel, like less than a month.
Yeah.
And he had just gotten back and had been away from the church and from his wife and from children and
For a couple of weeks.
Yeah, for a couple of weeks. And he just got back from Israel. And Sister Time's like, if this is what the Lord is saying, go do it.
Yeah.
And we went over there and we spent significant time over there. We didn't spend like 3 days over there. We spent weeks over there.
Yeah.
And just being there and just being in proximity to my pastor, not as a figure in the pulpit, and not just as the face that you guys see when you go to the thpshreveport.com and find out more about us and look at the staff pictures there. No, he became a real person who I understood how he served the Lord, how he talked to people, how we would just sit down at the end of these long days, and we're trying to figure out how to get my sister from UAE back to the United States, what her health care was going to look like when she got back and things like this. And we would just sit back in her condo at the end of the day, and my pastor would just talk me through stuff.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where everybody there would come to pastor to talk through stuff. It was like he became everybody's pastor while over there. Everybody's working at this, and people would just, and the opportunity for Christ to be seen was so apparent and so vivid and so available there.
Right.
And it came just from somebody who wasn't just willing to, he could have easily said, they don't pay me to go to the other side of the world with somebody and bring a sick loved one home.
Right.
He could have easily, but when I walked through the door, first time I walked through the door in the healing place, actually Matt was one of the first people to talk to me. Oh, yeah. And one of the first things he said, for us, brother, ministry is life.
Yeah.
Like that's what the concurrency is that life and ministry, they run side by side. Yeah. And that's what my pastor taught me. Is we went to the other side of the world to get my sister back. And there's a whole lot more to that story. Maybe one day we'll tell it. And God did miracles, man. And I don't believe that those things would have turned out the way that they would have if there had not been a man of God who was willing to live what he preached and willing to walk closely with somebody who's in need and really show what discipleship was about. Definitely. And that really was a turning point, not just in my relationship with my pastor, but in my relationships in other ways in general.
Yeah, absolutely. So good. So kind of just shifting a little bit more, having that experience of being discipled and how that came about, how has it affected how you go, this is how I'm going to invest in the people, how I'm going to disciple people?
Well, it teaches you that well is deep and it never really ends.
Yeah.
When you want to invest in people, and I know the fruit that's come out of my life because of what people are willing to invest in me. And I know what the Lord can do. And that personal experience changes me when I look at other people.
Yeah.
So you know what lengths am I willing to go to allow God to use me so that those same things can unfold in somebody else's life? I want somebody to have those life-changing experiences.
Right.
Even if they come out of difficulty. And somebody's got to be willing to do that.
Right.
Somebody's got to be willing to be there and to pour their life and to pour what those things that have been poured into me over the years. Do I hold them to myself, or do I pass them along to the next person that needs it? And then hopefully they'll do the same thing. And that's how that chain of custody of discipleship of the gospel goes from family to generation to generation. If we take those things in and allow what's been accomplished in us to come out of us into the life of another person.
Right. So good. And we said this a couple of weeks ago, guys, about discipleship as a whole, is that there's kind of a two-part. There's one part where it's like what Pastor's done. He intentionally goes, I'm going to help you.
Yeah.
I'm going to walk with you. He opened the door for you. But there's also the aspect of we ourselves have to go, can you help me?
Yeah.
We have to be receptive of discipleship.
Yeah.
And be willing to allow those people to have the authority in our lives. Our friend Brenton spoke at the men's breakfast this past month, and he did a great job. And he said something profound, which is the aspect of who has the authority to speak in your life. And you give that authority. You go, this person has authority in my life. And when you say that, you go, I'm going to take what they say to heart. I'm going to change things. I'm going to do what I need to do. And you also have the ability to go, I'm not allowing you to have authority in my life. Now, not everyone you say that to doesn't have authority.
Right, yeah.
They still have the authority, but how you receive it, that changes things. And so I want to encourage you guys at home, who are you giving authority to disciple you? Like, who have you gone, this person can speak my life? And have you told them that? Have you intentionally gone, can you walk me through this? Can you help me with this? Can you disciple me? And then at the same time, I encourage you guys, be intentional about finding somebody to disciple. And that doesn't look like you walk up to somebody and goes, I will disciple you. Yeah. Like, we're not in that age.
You don't go shopping.
You spend time with people, invest in people, and the Lord will open some doors for you to go, hey, I'm going to spend time with you. I want I want to do life with you and help you out. And as somebody and I work with teenagers, I can only do so much because we have several kids in the youth ministry, and there's just access that you don't have or you shouldn't have.
Yeah.
But for those I can, I go, I'm going to take intentional time to be with these kids. And it can be something small. I did something, not to brag on myself, but I had a kid in our church that, man, he's really into Mega Man and some stuff, and he picked up a game. It was Marvel it was a Marvel Capcom collection.
Oh wow.
And I went ahead and bought it for the sole purpose of playing Marvel vs. Capcom 2 with him, because he loved playing Mega Man.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, man, let's do it. So I got that game just to play with him.
That's awesome.
And it's not a big deal. It's just a little investment, but it's something I did. And that can be a variety of things for you guys to do. Any last thoughts?
Just have your heart open to whatever it is that the Lord wants to do. We read about, Paul mentions Apollos in 1 Corinthians, but he's talking about one waters and one plants, one waters.
Mm-hmm.
You get to see the fruit of that, and when they're kind of going back and forth and bickering about, who's baptized by who, who's Apollos is one of those names that's mentioned there in that passage, and that comes not necessarily directly through his discipleship, but indirectly from his discipleship of another to Apollos.
Absolutely.
But you see the fruit of that in the scripture.
Right.
So pour your life into something, because you never know the results of that, even if you're not around to watch it.
Exactly. Well, guys, we'll hear from you. How can we encourage you? How can we challenge you? How can we help disciple you? Reach out to us. MediaHub@thpshreveport.com is our email. And if you want more information for the in place, go to thpshreveport.com. Until next time, have a great week.